Alright, today we're looking at working off of what we learned about slope last chapter. Okay, first thing that we have to remember, let's see, the slope, rise over run. So it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. What does slope actually help us do when it comes to graphing? Okay, so what it allows us to do then is find any coordinate on the graph from my map, a slope. That's what it tells us to do. So what we're going to do today is we're going to work with an equation. So in the last section, all we did was plot points and find slope. Now we're going to actually plot a point, use the slope, and find our actual graph from an equation. Okay, so here's the very basic equation that you're going to deal with. Y equals mx plus b. The m value found always in front of the x. That value is your slope. That's your rise over your run. It's always found directly in front of the x. It doesn't have anything to do with x. It's found in front of the x. It's a number in a fraction form. If it's not in a fraction form, then it's over 1. Okay? This b value tells us what the y-intercept is. Well, first thing we need to understand is what is the y-intercept. From that graph, how do I locate where my y-intercept is?
Where the yellow line goes across the water.
Exactly. Well done. Okay? He's absolutely right. Where the yellow line crosses the y-axis. The x-intercept is found where that yellow line, where that line on our graph crosses the x-axis. What is the value of x on anywhere along this axis? It's 0. So, no matter what the equation is, if I put 0 in for x, doesn't matter what m is, 0 times m is going to be 0. 0 plus b is going to be b. So what that means is, if you have your equation written in the form where you have a y equals something, in this case y equals mx plus b, 0 and b is going to be your y-intercept. Well, when it comes to graphing an equation, that's going to be your starting coordinate all the time. And then from your starting coordinate, you're going to do what that m value tells you to do. Up, down, left, right. And that'll find your second point. In order to graph any line, you need 2 coordinates. From the equation, we can get 1 coordinate, and we can locate our second if we know the slope. All right? So let's look at an example. Now this is hugely important to us because as we move ahead, we have to know how to graph a line. Have to know how to graph a line. From coordinates and from an equation. Okay? So the first thing that I do, I look at my equation right here. Y equals 2x plus 1. I'm going to locate what my y-intercept is. My y-intercept is 0 and whatever my b value is. What's my b value in this case? It's 1. So 0 and 1. As you can see, when I write the equation out, y equals mx plus b. Therefore, 0 and 1 is my starting coordinate. What does my map tell me to do? What does my slope tell me to do? Go ahead. Okay, no. My question, okay, first of all, what is my m value? What did I say earlier? Where is it found? Always in front of the x. So what is the value that's found in front of the x? 2 is. And I said it's always going to be in fraction form. And if it's not in a fraction form, what is it over? 1. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to graph now. I'm going to graph this line. So, begin with. I go to my starting point. What was my starting point? 0 and 1. So, 0 is along this axis. My y value is 1. Where does my map tell me to go? Where? No?
2 opposite 4. 1.
Yes.
1 side.
What's up? Which direction you pointing?
Right.
You're right.
Sorry.
Okay. So you're absolutely right. Where do I go? Up 2, because it's positive. It's up. And right 1, because it's positive. So I go up 2, right 1. There's my next coordinate. There's the line. It's that simple. Your B value is your starting point. Your slope is your map. It tells you where to go. Okay? Let's try a different one. Okay, well, I'm just going to pick one here. All right? Okay. First thing you do, identify what 0 and B is, identify what M is, write them down, and then we'll graph them. So what is my B value? My B value is what?
2.
Positive 2.
What is the
Right there.
0? Your x. What other sound is 0?
So I mean, when you graph a coordinate, my coordinate is x, y. Do you agree with me?
Yeah.
What's my x value along here?
There's no.
It is, no, Sammy, it's 0. What else could it be? What is my x value right here? And my x value right here?
2.
What about over here?
-1.
And here?
-2.
And here?
-1.
No, that's my y value. What's my x value?
0.
Anywhere along that line, my x value is 0. You understand? Okay? All right, so 0, 2. What's my map? What's my slope?
-4.
-4 over 1. Remember, we want that as a fraction, right? Okay? So I go to 0 and 2. Zero and 2 is right here. Where does my map tell me to go?
2.
Down 4.
Down 4 and
Right 1.
1, 2, 3, 4. And right 1 to there. There's my graph. Okay? My y-intercept, that's this guy right here, is found by putting 0 in for x. Because no matter what, along that axis, my x is 0. What's my y-intercept? How do I find it? Or sorry, my x-intercept. How do I find it?
Pointing across is your like horizontal axis.
Say that again?
The point, like the point
Yeah.
across.
Okay, how do I find it? From my equation, how would I find it?
Could you reverse?
By what?
You just change out y and x, or
Nope. Nope. What did I do to find my y-intercept from the equation? What did I do? How did I get this value right here?
What's that mean?
Pardon me? I did that, but what else did I know? I changed my x value to 0. Right? So I put 0 in for x. What's 0 times negative 4? 0 plus 2? 2. So that's how I got that. Put 0 in for x, solve for y. How do you suppose I find the x-intercept then? What do you got? Yes, I do. I put 0 in for y. And I would solve for x. So, subtract 2 to this side. Now what? Excuse me?
Divide both by negative 4.
What do you got?
Divide both by negative 4.
Divide by negative 4. That gives me 1 over 2 equals x. That's this coordinate right here. 1/2 and 0. Okay? Alright. Hugely important. Alright, I want you to look at the graph on that page, 142. What is the slope of the line? Okay, I'm gonna stop there. I don't want the slope of the line yet. What I want is the y-intercept. So look at that graph and tell me what the y-intercept is. So my coordinate would be 0 and 3. Do we agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Now find the slope. How do I find the slope? You know of 2 ways to find the slope. What are they? Okay, but what do I need in order to use rise over run? 2 coordinates, exactly. There's number 1. Number 1 would be to find 2 coordinates on there.
We already have 1.
Find your rise over your run. I already have 1. You're right. So I'd actually only need 1 other one. What's the easiest way to find your slope? Count. So count to the next point. Going up or down, it doesn't matter. How do I get from one point to the next? Let's say go down to the next point. So what is my slope? Pardon me?
Temperature is 14 down. I don't know if I should.
Negative 2 over 1.
Okay. All right. You said what, Juno?
It's like when I counted it, 14 down. So you know,
14 down. So you're going from the top of the graph to the bottom of the graph? Okay. That's not terrible. All right. But let's make it easier on ourselves. I'm looking at the graph. What's the next coordinate below 3 that it actually hits? 1 and 1. So how do I get from 0 and 3 to 1 and 1? Down 2. How do I show down 2 in this? Negative 2, and it's right 1. There's my slope. Count down 2 from 0 and 3. And go right 1 and you hit the next coordinate on that line. Do we agree? Juno, if I went down 14, how many would I have to go right to get to that? 7. What is that? Negative 2 over 1. So you would have been okay. That would have been fine. You would have still got the exact same thing we did. It doesn't matter. Juno used the coordinate negative 2 and 7 and 5 and 7 and got the same solution we did as 0 and 3 and 1 and 1. It doesn't matter. Your slope, as long as you go to 2 coordinates on the line, your slope to get there will always be that ratio in simplest terms. What is the y-intercept? Said 0 and 3. What is the equation of the line? Well, all I do now is substitute in for m and b. Y equals, what's my m value? 2x plus 3. There's the equation of that graph. That's all there is to it. Nothing is going to change here. As long as you have it in the form y equals mx plus b, M is always going to be in front of the X. That's your slope. That's your map. And the B value will be your starting point, which is your y-intercept. Okay? Any questions so far? Yes. 15 questions on 7.1. You can work on those. It may take an hour to do. You're not using graphing technology, number one, but you do need graph paper to graph these. So make sure you have graph paper. I told you last Friday. I have graph paper for this week. If you don't, you better be borrowing it from your buddy. Okay? All right, 7.1. Start on Monday.
How many chapters does
I
this
have
have?
to do that.
9. Maybe 8. 9. Yeah, we want to be done probably by the second week in June. Give you a full week to review for your exam. We'll have that amount of time.